Welcome to the Limitless Podcast. The Limitless Podcast is centered around exactly that, being limitless. Hunting, fishing, fitness, nutrition, adventure, disabilities. What may be covered during the Limitless Podcast will be, well, limitless. Stay tuned for this episode of the Limitless Podcast. All right, we're going to another episode. I can't say what episode number this one's going to be because we're coming into hunting season, and that involves traveling for me. That involves some backcountry time for me, and I'm trying to line up a bunch of content for listeners and have it preloaded, pre-scheduled, and that way, if I'm packed in somewhere without service, content is still being released, and I have some quality stuff for everybody already mapped out through October. But talking about mapping things out and being prepared and talking about and promoting some things, let's talk about show sponsors. Again, I state this every single episode, especially when we share discount codes. If you use these codes, there is no financial gain for the Limitless Podcast. Currently, Limitless Podcast is funded straight out of my shallow pockets, and the Limitless codes that I'm going to provide you today are with companies for purely your benefit. Again, I don't benefit from this at all, other than I get to share with you some of the products that I use on a regular basis. They are purely for your benefit. So we're going to start out with Hunting Day Coffee, currently based out of Virginia. 10% discount with them, any order off of their website. That is BLimitless10. We have Phelps Game Calls. Huge fan of Phelps. Wearing the hat. Call me a fanboy, whatever you want. I am. I do go hard with the pink. I am a Jason Phelps signature call guy. Sorry, Dirk, you're handsome and all, but I just think the pink is way better than the Maverick. But you get 20% off one order at Phelps online. That's BLimitless20. That's your entire order. That's not one item, but it's one order. Once you use that code associated with your name, email, contact, and payment, that's a one and done code for you. On Point Adventure Foods, freeze-dried company out of Pennsylvania. They are now near and dear to my heart. They are friends of mine now. They are making my meals for me in the backcountry. They are Justin and Sabrina Oust. They're a married, happy couple of faith, and they're brilliant, and their food is so good. 10% off any order, anytime from their website. That is BLimitless10. And now this one, I love this one. It's Vortex Optics. I'm a huge Vortex fan. All of my glass is Vortex, but Vortex doesn't deal directly with the consumer. So what the wonderful folks at Vortex has offered, 25% discount on any Vortex products at eurooptics.com. If you go to eurooptics.com, their website, I deal with them a lot. They're a fantastic company. 25% off any Vortex Optics product through them. Here's the code. It's an interesting one. VTX LMT LS25. That is any order on any Vortex product at eurooptics.com. 25% off. The Love Sauce Boutique Small Batch Hot Sauce. 10% discount at the Love Sauce on any order, $12 or more. That's BLimitless10. And then last one, and I'm using it right now, is Wilderness Athlete. 20% discount at Wilderness Athlete. That is BLimitless20. There's a lot of different products on their website. It's any of the Wilderness Athlete products. Heather's Choice does not fall into that category. If you're a Heather's Choice fan, I will say their packaroons are super scrumptious. I do like them as a snack on occasion. But my discount or your discount, the Limitless code, does not apply to Heather's Choice products. Wilderness Athlete products. Again, that is BLimitless20 for a 20% discount. Now remember, you got to spell it right. So Be Limitless is BELIMBITLESS. All right. So enough of the sponsor chatter today. I'm sitting here with Chad Gustavson from Mountain Hunter Outdoors. He is out of the Northeast. He is an avid outdoorsman. You can see if you're on YouTube right now, you can see the background. I mean, there's hardly any room for a water-based interior paint on the wall from all of the outdoor artifacts that he is ordained that living space with. Chad, welcome to the Limitless podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here with you and kind of share our products that we've got going on and kind of our passion and our mission behind everything that we've been doing this year. So, really appreciate you having me on, man.
I'm excited to have you today. I'm gonna let all the listeners know. I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag right away. We're not gonna play around. So, I did not know Chad from Adam. We've never met personally. I saw one of his products on social media. If there's one thing that can make a miserable hunt, and it doesn't matter if it's a 4-hour hunt in the back of your own property or from your vehicle, be it morning, afternoon, or evening, that short day hunt, or if it's an all day hunt from the car, or you're packing in for multiple days, when your feet get wet, when your boots get swamped, it makes for a miserable experience. And I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to combat that when I'm packed in to different areas. And this last year, I purchased a titanium stove for those late, really, really cold winter pack-in hunts. And even running a hot tent, I was trying to figure out, how am I going to get my boots dry? You can pull your inserts out, and that's going to help at the very least maybe dry your inserts. You can put on dry socks if you have them at your disposal. But how do you really get your boots dry? And Chad, he's going to talk in depth about this, but I have a set of boot dryers here. They're fans that have a shroud in it. They're linked together with a USB cord, and you run them. I'm running them off of a power pack. This is a Dark Energy power pack. This is how we met. I saw his product online, and I know there's other portable boot dryers out there that you can pack in. One of them is Grack? What is Graxsaw?
That's right. Yep.
Graxsaw. Gritty uses them a lot. He promotes them a lot. I was looking at the Graxsaws, but I wasn't sold on it yet. And for me, it was another thing of, it was that level of comfort thing. Do I want to take the space and weight in my pack to take in another device that's going to suck energy from another device? Or am I just going to suck it up, be a man, and walk around in cold, wet boots for the duration of my hunt if I get him swamped right away? But I saw Chad's product, and he had his previous version, and then he started advertising his new and improved ultralight boot dryer. So I hit him up. He was very communicative, responded to me straight away. These were not provided to me. I paid for these out of pocket. So any of the information that I shared today, it is not biased. Chad did not give these to me and say, hey, check them out and promote them on my behalf. I paid a full price, no military discount, no podcast discount, no, hey, you've got a great website discount, none of that. Full price for these. So again, I'm giving you my honest opinion of what I think of these products. But enough of me talking. This is how I want to start this show, Chad. I want you to talk about these boot dryers, because this is what brought us together.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, we started out, and what Aaron's showing you right there is what's soon to be basically our ultralight, pretty much the world's lightest backcountry boot and glove dryer that's going to be on the market. And so we're just starting to launch that. But up until then, we've had our previous version, which is going to be a little bit different housing. but essentially the same kind of thing. And so I started out, Aaron, about 4 years ago. I've always been a Midwestern, hunter. I lived in Michigan my whole life here, and so obviously done a lot of whitetail hunting and those different things. Then started going out west, and about 4 years ago, I started doing a lot of this backcountry hunting. And I thought, well, gosh, if I can hunt deer, I can hunt elk kind of thing. But I quickly realized that the game is totally different out there, right? And so from your gear to all those different things. And I, like you, suffered from wet boots trudging through the snow, and gators didn't cut it, all of those different things. So that's where we came up with, there's got to be a better way. And not only is there a better way to dry your boots out, but we can make a really, really good product, and can we make it affordable while kind of giving back to, other things. And we have some great programs where we give back to the youth. So yeah, this boot dryer is our current version right now is about 5.9 ounces. So it is still very, very lightweight and meant for the backcountry. Totally portable, off grid. You can take it anywhere. Aaron's using that battery bank, but you can also use these in the truck as you're going from hunt spot to hunt spot. Throw them on the floorboard of your truck, put that heat on. And what that's going to do essentially is that's going to pull the air down inside the boot versus kind of around the boot, right? Because that's the main problem is you can blow air on it and those different things, but if you're not getting the air down in the actual toe box of the boot, you're not really drying out the boot. You can pull your insert out, like you said, but you need airflow, and you need that to be in the right place, and you need that to go in the interior of your boot. And so that's where the magic happens. So what I suggest is you're just going to take like a boot. This is just a full grain leather boot, and you just pop this right into the top of this, plug that in. And like I said, it's going to pull all of that ambient air that's around you, whether it's in your truck or your teepee, right, in your hot tent. And that's going to pull that down inside the actual boot. But once it hits the toe box, it's got to go somewhere. That air's got to be moving. So what it does is it pulls all that moisture out of the top of your boot, displacing kind of your sweat and the scent. Any moisture that you have inside that boot is going to be pulled right out of the top. And that's a constant airflow. And so if you add in that heating element, like you said, inside your teepee or your tent, you're going to basically increase your drying time dramatically. The other thing you can also do too is those little heat packs you get, the grabber heat packs that you can kind of tear open. They're portable, right? They cost you 99 cents for a 2-pack. Slide that into the toe of your boot. So once again, you have the portability, you have the off grid, you're not relying on 110 power. Slide that in the toe of your boot, and now you're moving air essentially nonstop right over a heat source. And so what we've been able to accomplish now as we move forward into the ultralight version is for you guys out there that are backcountry hunters like I am and like Aaron is, ounces equal pounds, right? Pounds equal pain, right? That's what we always say. And so what we've been able to do with this new version is cut down a third of the weight. So we've gone from about 6 ounces to roughly about 4 ounces. So moving forward, as we launch this new unit, this will be the world's lightest weight, most portable backcountry off-the-grid boot dryer that's on the market.
I think it's pretty fantastic. So I'm going to come at this from a couple of different angles.
Yeah.
One, Chad, you were talking about heat movement. In a perfect world, if you're able to get heat in or around, but preferably inside the boot, along with the air movement, it's going to be a far more efficient process. But not everybody. I'm not always going to have my titanium stove with me.
Right.
And I'm not going to pack a supply of hand warmers on a backcountry hunt. That's a luxury that I'm just not willing to pack that weight in. And it's more trash for me to pack out. So I'm not going to do that. But what the big benefit it is, if you can get air movement over those boots in a 4, 6, 8 hour period, depending upon how much time you're gonna have for these fans to work your boots, you're gonna dry those boots out at some level. They may not be perfectly dry, but you pull the insert out of your boot, you get the insert drying itself, and then you get airflow over the interior of the boot. It's going to help. And now let's talk about ambient air, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you leave them outside, they're going to be at whatever ambient air temp is outside. If you bring your boots inside of your shelter, as you sleep through the night, you're warming the interior of that shelter with your own body heat, right? So that's going to change that ambient temperature, and you'll get increased drying capability just by having your boots interior of your tent with these fans running. So I'm going to power these fans by two means in an upcoming elk hunt. So September 19th, I depart the eastern shore of Maryland for Idaho via Salt Lake City. And we have on schedule the last 10 days of archery elk season in Idaho. So the main power source I will use is this Anchor power bank. And I'm going to throw a plug out for Dark Energy on this. I've used three different brands of power banks. Prior to Dark Energy, my preferred was Anchor.
Yep.
And they worked pretty good. And they make a power pack that's about twice. I mean, it's a 20 milliamp power bank versus the 10.2 of Dark Energy. But the problem that I had with the Anchor was they were only lasting one season with me. Whether it's the amount of moisture that that I'm imparting them to, or it's the banging around in my pack, or in the camp activity, or the extreme differences in temperatures that I'm subjecting them to. My Anchor power banks, they weren't lasting me multiple seasons, and I had a problem with that. They're not super expensive, but I'm having to buy them over and over and over again. And then I tried an off brand, and it worked okay. Didn't even make it through a full season. The Dark Energy. Now I will be transparent. I'm going into my first season with Dark Energy, but I've been playing with. I have two of these. I've been playing with them ever since that I've purchased them, and I've had them on day hikes. I took them up to Acadia National Park last week with my wife. We threw down some serious miles in Acadia. I travel with these. I've ran my computer off of this power pack. I'm a writer, so as I'm writing on my computer, I'm not always next to the plug-in or an outlet. So I literally run my MacBook off of this power pack. Now, running a MacBook, especially if I'm keyed into a router, so that I can have Wi-Fi running on my computer, it smashes this power pack pretty quick. Like I could sit and write for 6 hours or surf the internet for 6 hours straight. However, if I want to get a couple of hours of work done, I can run my MacBook on this thing. This is going to be my primary means of running my fans, along with my other electronics in the backcountry. Again, I'll take two. The other way that I'm going to run them, and I'm really excited about this, again, another Dark Energy product, is their solar panel. Now, I'm using their new 3-panel 18-watt system that they just launched. And here's my thought process. For this elk hunt that we're going on in September, Chad, it is in southeastern Idaho, all the way down on the border of Utah. It's very open country.
Yep. Full sun.
I'm not used to hunting that environment. I grew up hunting Washington State in thick timber. We hunted elk in solid timber. The last time I went to Idaho, I was in Diamond Creek, and that was heavy timber. So we weren't sitting and glassing at all. We were moving and covering ground and stalking all day, every day. Where we're going this year, I foresee us probably sitting through a lot of afternoons, like late morning, all through the afternoon into the early evening, glassing. We're going to be glassing a lot, which means we're sitting, we're static, and we have a lot of open country, full sun. So as we're sitting there during the day, not only am I recharging any of my devices, because this has multiple ports on it, I can literally take my boots off. I can plug these straight into the solar panel, and I can run these fans directly into my boots while we're sitting there glassing. As long
as it's fantastic.
Not, and here's the other cool part. I have Argali's new tarp. So even if it's if we need to get out of the wind, I can still have my solar panel sitting outside, and I can still recharge my electronics and or have these fans running in the boots while we're sitting underneath the tarp. So I'm pretty excited about that. And of course, if we ever end up back at the vehicle, I can plug these into the vehicle and run them while we're in the vehicle. But
Yeah.
it's I think this has potential to change my experience because again, once those boots get wet, they're wet unless you get full sun for an entire day.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you were talking about obviously the flexibility, being able to use that solar panel or your battery bank. Now, Aaron, you had a chance to test these out from a battery bank perspective, and so these things run on very, very, very little juice, about 0.13 amps. And so, what we have found for most purposes is that you're going to get a long time of drying time, and that's just straight running it right off of the battery bank, no solar panel. So I mean, how was that test for you as far as what you used on that Dark Energy? Because we've had great success in being able to use it on the same kind of battery bank on a 10,000 milliamp hour. We're getting almost, well over 25, hours. What did you see in your test?
So I have my 10.2 Poseidon Pro. I did now when I say I did not have a full charge on this, meaning
Yep.
that I didn't take it straight off of the wall charger. It had been at full charge, but it had been
Yeah.
sitting in the house for several days, just static, waiting to be
Yep.
used. Plugged in the fans, it ran 29 hours nonstop.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So from an efficiency standpoint, because that's what you need to be able to have something that's lightweight. You need to have something that's efficient from an energy perspective, because we rely on these power banks in solar and these things. That's kind of our lifeline in the backcountry. And so that's the other thing is these things, not only are they light and super durable, but they don't kill your power source.
no,
And I think you mentioned too that tarp that you're going to use too. You need to be able to have the flexibility to be able to put your boots maybe underneath the tarp with you, but be able to have your solar panel maybe outside of that. And these things, that come with that extension cord that comes with it already. That's a 3-foot extension cord. And we also sell a 6-foot extension cord too. So if you really want to, really get out there a little bit farther, you have the flexibility to be able to, use that solar panel, move your boots to where you need them to be. So I definitely would agree with you, Aaron. I think this is a chance to change a lot of people's experience, and change their hunt, because you're right. If your boots are wet, you're miserable. I mean, I
yeah,
remember I put mine in front of a buddy heater. We had a cargo trailer, and we're DIY hunters out there too. And I'm trying to dry these things out, but propane heat is like a moist heat, right? You don't get that dry air. And so, but I'd put my boots on, and the next morning it was still be cold in the trailer, and I mean they'd be crunchy, crispy. I'd have to almost stretch them out to get your foot back in there, and it was. I mean, once you got moving, it was tolerable, but man, in the morning it was tough. When your boots just never fully dried out.
yeah. Well, I mean, you
Yeah.
you can get trench foot. If you're in for 5, 8, 10 days, and if you swamp
Yeah.
your boots within the first 24 to 48 hours, and if the weather is wet and cold the entire time, it's miserable, right? You never really
Oh,
get to that point to where you're able to move around in dry boots. And if like I typically take one pair of socks. Now,
yep.
granted, being an amputee, I can bounce back and forth between my prosthetic and my regular foot, but I have one sock that I keep inside my sleeping kit so that when I go to bed at night, especially this is like mid to late season when the temps drop, I like to have a dry wool, merino wool sock on my foot when I sleep.
Yeah.
That's one thing that will wake me up and keep me awake is having a cold foot.
Yep.
I keep one dry sock in my sleep kit, but outside of that, I usually don't take spare socks. But now you can get abrasions and or blisters from moving around in wet boots and wet socks because of all that friction that's in there. So having this ability to run a boot dryer, I think is going to be great. And a couple of years ago in Idaho, it was a really wet hunt for us. It rained on us a whole lot more than we had dry hunting time. There
Yeah.
were a couple of periods where we were able to sit midday, get our boots off, and let them air out for an hour or so while we, let the elk bed down and have a midday snack and whatnot. And it wasn't raining and we could sit in some open sunlight and rewarm ourselves a little bit. But it rained almost the whole time, and our boots were wet almost the whole time. And by the time we ended our hunt, the rain came in even harder, and like I had standing water in my boots at the end of one of our
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And it would, I wish that I would have had these. One thing I am curious about,
Mhm.
solar panels, they're kind of they're not new, but the small, really portable and durable solar panels are new for something that you can actually backpack in. It's a
Mhm.
newer concept, but solar panels to function as designed, they have to have full sun. And what I'm curious about is if it is overcast, you're still going to get some power pulled off of that
Mhm.
panel because it's UV rays, which you still get some UV rays coming through cloud cover, unless it's just really, really thick, nasty stuff. And if that's the case, you're probably not staked down under a tarp in the open glassing. You're probably huddled underneath a tree somewhere trying to get out of the severe weather. But what I'm curious about is in some of that overcast environment, if I'm able to get my solar panel set up, is there going to be enough power drawn out of an overcast setting through this three panels solar setup to run these fans?
Yeah, I
That's
think it's a great question. And I mean, the mountains, right? One minute it's sunny, then it's snowing, then it's raining, then oh wait, it's back to sunny. And so I think you having that flexibility. And we run a solar panel that's very similar to that. It's you can get on Amazon. It's called the Rhino Tough. It's a 3 panel, 21 watt solar panel. It's got a real durable housing. And we've used that in a variety of temperatures, as well as overcast different environments. And so I think it depends on the wattage of your solar panel. The 21 watt, I would say, if there's a decent amount of light, you're able to draw enough energy to run them. Now, I also would say not as much as you probably would on a full bore, battery bank, right, where you're getting full power, full flow all the time. In one of my latest videos, I was actually showing and running that solar panel and running the boot dryers on a fairly overcast day. So if you can kind of position that solar panel to where you're getting the most sunlight, if you will, and kind of maneuver that, yes, your best chance of success. But as we learned, like, I mean, you just can't control the weather out there, right?
no.
So I think in that case, you'd probably just switch right to your battery bank, that you have on there too, because you're probably charging both of those at the same time, if you will, or running one and charging that. So yeah.
And I'm looking at it as if I have enough, if I'm picking up enough UV rays on
Yeah.
that panel to power my fans, maybe it's not enough to really charge up my power packs. At
Yep.
least I'm not impacting what power reserves I have in my two packs
Yeah.
when I'm pulling some type of enough power to move those blades off of the
Yep.
solar panel, rather than looking at the forecast saying, well, we're not going to get sun for we're going to have rain for the next 3 days. It's going to be a while before we get full sun and we're able to get a recharge. If I can get enough power running off of that panel to run my fans midday, then I'm not using my power reserve. And
Yep.
that's a benefit that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that dark energy, that one you got there is probably, I would say it's close to the top of the line that you're going to be able to find out there. I tried, I believe it's Goal Zero. That's another brand that's out there. And I didn't have hardly any luck with it. It worked okay. But it was bulkier, it was heavier. And so from a portability backpacking perspective, and it just didn't work well for me. So I think you've probably got the right solar panel for the job. And I think with the right weather and all those things, I think you'll be, pleasantly surprised at how well it runs the boot dryer. So I really do.
I'm really looking forward to it. I don't want to get sidetracked, but
Yep.
I'm I backcountry tree saddle hunt, and
Yes.
I I'm going on a pretty arduous November pack-in trip to an area that's known to be really wet and really cold in November. And if we can get any type of sunlight, there won't be any canopy in the hardwoods
Hmm.
in September, I'm gonna take this solar panel with me. I'm gonna climb with it, and I'm gonna
Okay.
hang it up in a tree with me
Yep.
while I'm whitetail hunting in November, because a lot of I might be in the same tree from dark to dark. So when
Yep.
I'm up in that tree, I'm gonna hang this solar panel up in the tree with me and try to recharge my power banks while I'm up in the tree.
Yeah, makes perfectly logical sense. I mean, we do the same thing. We'll clip that with a carabiner on the back of our packs, and then we'll be charging that as we're hiking. So we might be, like you said, moving all day long, and you might get eight hours of solar time, as that's hooked to the back of your pack. So makes perfectly logical sense.
Yeah, we're taking a videographer with us in September, and he's purchased a Dark Energy solar panel, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to keep his panel exposed on his pack all day long,
Yep.
trying to charge his camera batteries. It's brilliant.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yep. And I think these products, they really have the ability to change the hunt where you think 4 or 5 years ago, not having some of these different things. I mean, I hate the word game changer, but if it changes the outcome and you get drier boots for 3, 4 days, that keeps you on the mountain. And at the end of the day, that's the goal is to be out there, in the presence of the animals and to keep you out on the mountain. And that time in the backcountry is better than, well, we got to go back to town. We got to go back to the truck. We got to, dry stuff out. That's the whole goal here is we've really tried to come up with some gear that, fits the bill for that backcountry hunter. And we're finding there's so many uses for this thing. We all suffer from condensation and things like that in our tents or teepees. We started using this last year a little bit too to move air inside the teepee, and not only to kind of blow that warm air down from the top, right? Because inside those things, when you run in your stove, you get a lot of warm air up there. But we started hanging those things up in the nest. We use a Peaks teepee. It's a great teepee. And we push all of that warm air down towards where we're at. So that's one of the other, unique ability to just keep pushing all that warm air down inside your tent. And so it helps with the condensation. It's moving air nonstop, just like it would in your boots. And it works pretty good. We even use it in the front of our, we're using a Seek Outside titanium stove, probably similar to what you have. And if we need to get that thing going in the morning, we'll just plug in that fan right in the front of it, blow air, and it's almost a turbocharge for your stove, because now where you're blowing air inside there, and poof, there goes your stove. It's lighting back up. So I mean,
I
we're
like
just
it.
starting to scratch the surface of the utility of this thing. So
Yeah, I run Argali.
okay,
I
yep,
have the Rincon, and I have their Skyline titanium stove.
yep,
I
great
tell you what,
product.
the first time that I used that thing, I get the wood that I was using that I'd gathered, I was getting about a 1 hour burn out of a firebox. So I was
Okay,
and what I found was I was in a floorless shelter on that first trip, and I had my teepee sucked down to the ground as close to the ground that I could get it, but it was in single digits. It was cold, real
yeah,
cold.
yeah,
And laying on the ground, there was a distinct thermal line. It was like going through a thermal cline when you're diving. If you've ever experienced that, where when you're going through the water column, just boom, you hit a
you feel it.
distinct change in temperature. I could pick my head up and get up on my elbows in that teepee, and it was blistering hot. But laying directly down on my sleeping pad, or if you reached over to get another piece of wood or something, I mean, it was really, really cold.
Yeah,
So using that concept that you just brought up, you put that fan up at the peak of your shelter, and
that's
you're
right.
pushing that warm air down because warm air rises. Well,
That's
now
right.
you're pushing that warm air down, and it's going to push some of it out of the bottom of your shelter. But now you don't have that distinct thermal change down at sleeping level. You're pushing that
Yeah.
warm air back down into your sleep space. That's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah, it works remarkably well. And I mean, if you already got your, battery bank, you just set that right up at the top there, and it
Yeah.
really helps, not only keep you a little bit more comfortable, but it does help remove some of that warm air around the tent or the teepee, and can help with condensation for sure. So it would work great in that Argali or in a Peaks or, whatever TP or tent that you're running, as long as you can get that up top. So, yep.
That's awesome. So what else, what other products do you have that you want to talk about?
Sure. Yeah. So we've launched a few different things. One of the other kind of innovative things that we've launched here, and this is on that website too, is called our ammo pod. And I'm going to take this thing out here because this is unlike anything on the market. For the guys that are going out rifle hunting, right? One of the biggest things is protecting your ammunition. And up until now, there's been an ammo wallet, kind of the cardboard box that it comes in. And, when you buy a box of, Hornady or whatever kind of ammo that you're using, there's 70, 80, 90 bucks, maybe more if you're doing hand loads and those different things. And so those components, right, they're not only are they absolutely critical to your hunt, and whether you're shooting a lead tip or a partition tip, we all know that if those things get dented or smashed or any of those things, any deformation, that changes the trajectory of your bullet dramatically. Maybe not at 100 yards kind of thing, but a lot of, this day and age, we want to be able to get out farther and farther. And so that's where we came up with a solution, because what comes in the box of your ammunition is a styrofoam piece of basically garbage, and that's for shipping, or a plastic piece right there. And not only does that not cover your ammunition from a water standpoint or dirt or debris, or just protecting the integrity. And that's where the ammo pod comes in. This thing is under 2 ounces. As you can see, it's in a cylinder or or a pod shape, if you will. And the way this thing works is you're going to take the top off just like this, 3D printed right here in Michigan, right here in the United States. And on the very top, you'll see this looks like a cylinder that you would find in a revolver, so to speak. And so what that allows you to do is have the most compact, uniform way to store your ammunition. So what you do is you take this black kind of, we call it our silencer ring. It's made of a really durable rubber material. And then you're going to drop your ammunition right like you would in a revolver, if you will. And so what you're going to do then is slide that silencer ring right over the neck of the bullet and push that down. And so that holds all your ammunition inside this pod. And so keeps it completely watertight, dirt, dust proof, protecting the full integrity of your bullet, and allows you to have a much more compact, packable option versus a giant cardboard box that is going to fall apart in the first day because it gets wet, and then your ammunition sliding around, and then you're digging around in your pack trying to find it. And so that's where this thing comes in real handy. The top just screws right back on, and now you have a fully encased, darn near, water. It's pretty watertight. It'll actually float depending on the caliber that you're using inside there. And so now you have a fully encased, protective piece there, that, along with kind of like the boot dryer, it can really save your hunt. And obviously we make all of our products in a bright orange material, so it's easy to spot in your bag versus one loose round rolling around, inside your pack. And so that's another innovative product that we've been able to come up with. That's slowly starting to take off when people see, the utility of it, to, protect that ammunition.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
One thing is, you talk about protecting your ammunition. That is a big deal. If you damage the tip, the ballistic tip of your rounds, that is going to impact your trajectory, your point of impact, right?
Yep.
Now, I'm not a long range shooter. I much prefer archery. My second favorite is muzzle loading, and then I do. I mean, you see behind me. I do like high caliber firearms, but I can't remember the last time that I took a shot over 100 yards with any firearm. I can, and I have firearms capable of reaching out. I just don't prefer to do it. One of my favorite weapons to hunt with, if I'm going to hunt modern firearm, it's sitting back there too. It's this. If you're watching on YouTube, my pin is trying to track on it. It is a lever action 4570, which is about $5 every time you squeeze that trigger. So protecting that ammunition, that's an investment. How much does that little ammunition canister rattle when it has ammunition in it?
That's a good question. That silencer ring, once you slide that over the neck of the bullet, that seats it and holds it pretty darn tight. And each one of these pods is designed from an interior space to hold based on the caliber, right? We if you were shooting a 243 versus a 7 mag or 7 PRC or 300 Win Mag, each one is designed to kind of hold that ammunition pretty tight. And once that's in there, now if you're going to shake it, you might have a little bit of rattle, but that silencer ring on the top does a pretty darn good job of holding all your ammunition tight. And really, the reason why I came up with this is I was using a stock shell holder a couple years back, and your ammunition just slides in and it has that stretchy bungee material. And I had 6 rounds in there, and just from being on my pack and banging around, going through the pine browse and all those different things, I got to the top of the summit where we had watched an elk kind of, go in. And I said, okay, I got my mag. It's got, 3 rounds in there. And I looked back and every single round had slipped out of that holder, just because over time that stuff stretches, right? That bungee, material. And it just made me sick that here I am, I'm 5 miles back, and I don't have the ability to reload. Now thankfully, we didn't need the extra rounds, but this filled the gap, this filled the void. And so right now these things run for about $29.99 is what we sell them for. And so I don't know about you, but $29.99 is a pretty cheap insurance, just trying to protect one of the second most important pieces of your arsenal, right? Just like your arrows, we put those things in a quiver. We want to make sure they'll stay sharp and they'll stay, keep the integrity of them. So that's why we came up with this. It's just another option for the backcountry hunter.
So they are caliber specific.
Yes. Yep. We're looking at trying to get this thing to be multi-caliber. That's a little bit harder with the engineering based on the actual interior space, because this has to have the height. Not only that, but it also has to fit the wall size of each cartridge. So for right now, so like our largest size fits like a 300 Win Mag, 7 Mag, and 7 PRC. We also have another one that's a 6.5, 308, 30-06, and 270. So there's so many calibers and cartridges out there, as you guys know. I mean, we could make 1,000 of these to try to fit every single one. And so right now we have 3 different sizes: small, medium, large, to fit those calibers that I just mentioned. And so that's kind of the route that we've taken right now. And so as we move forward, I mean, stay tuned. We may have something, one day that fits every caliber underneath the sun. And we're looking at it a lot of different ways to re-engineer these things and make them better and better.
Okay. As far as like a rattling aspect, I'm sitting here looking at it through the video screen. It's for me, it's no different than I take the little travel tubes of Motrin with me, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And if you just take one of those, even if it's never been opened, and you move it, it rattles.
Yep.
And I carry Motrin with me in my pack all the time. And when I'm backcountry hunting, I always have my pack on, whether I'm first arriving and I'm moving into the first pitch point, or we've set a spike camp and I'm all of my life essentials are at our pitch site. I'm still carrying my pack with me because I have my meat carrying capability with me. I have my additional thermal layer. I have my rain protection with me. I have my tool kit with me. I have my meat bags with me. I always have a water filter with me. I carry my Jetboil all day, every day, because I like a mid-afternoon snack. I make a quinoa bowl pretty much every day in the afternoon. It's my go-to feel-good meal midday. So I always have my Jetboil. I might make an extra cup of coffee throughout the day. I just don't know. So I always have that with me. I have my bladder that has my hydration with me. So I always have that pack with me. That little tube of Motrin, whether an animal can hear it 20 yards from me or 100 yards from me or not, if I hear things moving in my pack that's in my audio space all day long, it drives me absolutely insane. I try to tuck all the straps off my pack, because if I hear a strap swinging around, like hitting me in the butt or rubbing on something, drives me insane. So I take a little bit of toilet paper and I open the cap of that little Motrin bottle. and I shove all the
Yep.
dead space full of toilet paper, and then I close it so there's no noise. And I'm just thinking, man, I can think of all kinds of things that I could shove inside that canister with my
Mhm.
ammunition that's not going to impact the ballistic tip in any way, shape, or form. That's,
Yep.
that's space that I can put stuff in, right? Because
Yep.
space is a commodity when you're packing. So I can fill it with something that's going to help um, remove any type of movement of the contents. It's packable space and things don't make noise.
That's right. Yep. I mean, you could definitely do that. This rubber gasket that's right on the top is designed to fit exactly the neck size of each bullet that it's designed
Yeah.
for. So when it slides over the top, it's pretty darn tight, and then that just gets pushed down, and so it does a pretty darn good job of holding that, those rounds in place there. So, but to your point, yeah, could you stuff a little bit of, you had mentioned some tissue and those different things right in the top of this. These pods are designed to fit that shell exactly based on the height of that shell with not having a bunch of extra space. So it's just banging and clanging around. So it's pretty darn close. But to your point, if you wanted to add a little bit of extra, tissue paper and those different things, right? That's white gold out there, right? Extra tissue
Yeah.
paper is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can silence things up. We know in kind of that mobile world, right? Everybody's using tape on all their sticks and all those different things. So I'm sure there's some different ways that you could even, add some silencing options to it.
I tell you, one of the things that I like about your products, fans, they're Hunter Orange.
Yep.
Your ammo pod, it's Hunter Orange. When I was younger, when I was on active duty, special operations, everything was blacked out, camo, subdued
Yep.
mode, nothing that's gonna attract the attention of the human eye. Hunting, and for a long time when I was younger, I translated that mindset into everything that I used when I was hunting.
Mm-hmm.
That has significantly changed for me. I don't want to lose stuff. So I like Hunter Orange things. Like my hunting knife, I want some type of orange on my knife because if you've ever, and I had a hunting partner do this, he shot a really really nice whitetail on my property on Veterans Day,
Yep.
and we went out to recover it and to field dress it, and he took his he had an outdoor edge razor knife. I'm a big fan of those.
Yep. It's a good
It,
knife.
the folder, the locking folder, and when he was emptying his pack out, again super excited. That knife came out inadvertently. Neither one of us were paying attention. I was over looking at the deer. Well, it hit the ground. We were in um, pretty dense hardwoods, a good stand of hardwoods with a nice deep layer of dried leaves. That knife
Yep.
was gone. Never found it.
Yeah. Yep.
Never found it because it was black. Never found it.
Yep.
That
Yep.
knife is
Yeah.
still sitting out there on that
It
acreage.
sure is. It
Yeah.
sure is.
Um,
Yeah.
so I carry two hunting knives with me. I currently carry a outdoor edge razor knife, and then I carry a Montana Knife Company, and they both have some type of orange on them because if I set it down, I want to be able to see it. My GPS, you can get a GPS in black. I don't want a black GPS. I want a Hunter Orange GPS. Any type of small gear that I have, I like it to be Hunter Orange so that if it falls on the ground, I can find it.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly why we've made most of our products in this color, because we've all been there, whether it's low light or any of those different things, or at night you're fumbling around trying to find things. And so stuff's expensive. And we don't want that hunter to just be like, oh, I've got to buy a new one, and I couldn't agree more. And so, that's why we've really tried to make every single thing in that kind of hunter orange for the most part. And most of our products are in that space. And, make something, in that hunter orange. And then the last two products I'll show you, this is a sneak peek. This is what we call our easy bow hanger. I don't know if you guys have ever done any kind of tack shooting or different things. There's a few options out there to kind of like maybe hook your bow to your bino harness. Most bino harnesses have a molly webbing of some sort on the very bottom to attach different things. And the easy bow hanger basically just has a U-shaped piece right here, and that attaches right to that molly webbing. And then on the very bottom, it hooks right to your string. And so what that allows you to do is to be able to go ahead and range and maybe use your binos that you're looking at the target, whether you're shooting. And so it has a hook system that's built right into it. And so what this is going to do is it's going to hook to your molly webbing that's right underneath your bino harness right there. And then that just kind of hangs down, and then you can hang your bow just right on that hook. And so now you've gone from having to hold your bow while you're ranging something to completely hands-free, essentially. And so it's made out of a very strong Cordura material in the inside, and then again, a very strong 3D printed hook that you can hang your bow just essentially right on that. So it's sitting right at your chest level, so you can go ahead and range. You can go ahead and use your optics, and it's basically right there. It's attached to your bino harness, just like a holster would be, or any of those different things. So keeps your bow off the ground. We've all set our bow down, and from a backcountry perspective, you don't want to have one of those as a 2 or 3 leg stand or any of those things. So we've come up with another product that we're about to launch called the Easy Hanger, which is a really cool item. Again, in that bright hunter orange as well.
So most of your packs that have a substantial lumbar belt have molly loops on it now. So you could also put one on your lumbar pad, so that when you're standing glassing, calling,
Yep.
even more importantly, calling, you could hang your bow from that clip.
Yep, absolutely. And these things, they'll actually, we did some breaking strength tested. They'll hold almost 60 pounds. And so most of your average bows are just, maybe what, 6 pounds, give or take, depending on how many stabilizers you have and those different things. But made a super, super strong, durable, same actual material that we use in the boot dryer, we're making these out of as well.
Gotcha.
So, Yep. So that's a sneak peek that hasn't hit the market yet, but that's another item that I think we're going to retail, fairly inexpensive, maybe around $14.99. Nothing too crazy. At the end of the day, we want to be able to provide like really, really good products at affordable price. Let's face it, I've got a basement full here of First Flight Sit Kikuyu. I've got everything, Stone Glacier, Argali, and it's easy to go drop $1,000 on a couple of pieces. And so we really want to have product that's priced affordable. That's just as good as anything else that's out there. And so that's been the driver here behind all of these things that you see in here today.
That's awesome. Anything else?
The last couple of pieces that we have on there, we do also sell one of our, and this thing's actually done quite well. This is what we call our Wicked Wind Checker. I think by now everybody's heard of milkweed. And so I actually started out, like I said in the beginning, I'm a big whitetail hunter here too in the Midwest. And I bought one of those pouches that has milkweed in it. It has all kind of little holes. It almost looks like a little change purse. Well, I forgot that thing was in my pants, and I ran that thing through the washer and dryer. Well, needless to say, I had milkweed everywhere because it ended up coming out of that whole entire thing. So I thought to myself, gosh, there's got to be a better way. Can I have something that's ultralight, portable, packable, that keeps the milkweed where it's supposed to be? And that's what we came up with. And this is what we call our Wicked Wind Checker. And so this is an anodized aluminum can, weighs next to nothing. And so it's got our Mountain Hunter Outdoors logo on the top. It holds about, I would say, almost a good season worth of milkweed inside this thing. It has a resealable label that comes right off the top. And as you can see right inside here, we've got milkweed already pulled and, ready to go right when you're in the stand, or if you're hunting in the mountains and those things, because, Aaron, I know we've all used the powder wind checker, which works good. But it's going to show you where that wind's moving for what? A foot, 2 feet?
It works good if you're using the right wind checker. There's a difference. There's good wind checker, and then there's not good wind checker.
Garbage wind checker.
About that too.
Yeah. So this thing, really, I think when you can see the wind, and I mean, I don't have a lot of air movement here. Maybe if I plugged a boot dryer in, but when you can see the thermals and you can see where that's going, and I'm not talking 5 feet from your stand or 5 feet from you on the top of a ridge. But when you can let that milkweed go and it goes down the hill, down the valley, and you can watch that thing for 30, 40, 50 yards, and then you see it moving this way, you're really seeing, you're seeing the wind, you're seeing the thermals, and you're seeing the change there too. And so that's why we've come up with, and milkweed evidently is not all over the place. So what we do is we kind of locally source it. Yes, it's just milkweed, but we pull 95% of the seeds out and those different things. And so what we do is we actually take these, we put them in a tote. We use our boot dryers to constantly dry out any of that moisture that's inside the milkweed. And then we let it sit there for months and months and months and months, and we keep rotating. And then when it's dried out for a couple of months, we know at that point it's about as dry as it's going to be. And then we'll pack it in those cans and package each one individually. So, but
Okay.
what has been your best powder that you've used? If you've had one, that's, because I'd love to hear it. I've used a couple. A Dead Downwind, I believe I've used a couple of those,
Okay.
and some of the other ones. But I
So
think
I
it's
know
important that you can see the wind, right?
I like to remind everybody that I don't bash companies,
Yeah.
but I will provide some constructive insight on whether or not a certain company or product is more superior to others. So if you go to your standard box sporting goods store, or if you go to Amazon, you're going to probably, and you do a search for wind checker, or you go to buy some, be it Walmart, Academy, Shields,
Yep.
the couple of stores that I prefer not to speak of, just because of some bad experiences with them. But Bass Pro and Cabela's, I'm not a big fan anymore. But if you go to those large stores, you're going to see brands like Dead Downwind, HME. There might be one or two other ones. That's all that is basically is unscented talcum powder.
Yep.
So it clumps and it's heavy. And
Yep.
you can really tell the quality of that wind checker when you shake the bottle and then you give it the squirt. You're going to get clumps of it piled up on your hand. There's a company out there, Moccasin Joe makes it. The original name was called Smoke in a Bottle.
Yep. Okay.
And the reason why they named it Smoke in the Bottle was when you shook that bottle, you didn't have to like shake your hand and squeeze to get it to come out of the bottle and dissipate up into the air. And then you're right, within 5 feet, it falls to the ground. Real smoke in the bottle is almost like a silica powder.
Yeah.
And when you give that bottle a little shake, if I'd have known we were going to talk about this, I would have actually grabbed my bottle. You can sit and just give it a little squeeze, and it literally, it's like rubbing the lamp of a genie, and you can see that smoke coming out of the bottle, and you can watch it wind travel. Now, I was introduced to milkweed a couple of years ago because I was not a whitetail hunter for most of my life. And I was introduced to milkweed, and I've been using a synthetic milkweed for the last probably 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I carry both, especially when I'm whitetail hunting, and I look at it this way. My smoke in the bottle I use for prevailing winds. I use the milkweed for thermals.
That's right. It's perfect.
That's what I use them for, because I when I'm moving and when I'm in transit, or going from point A to point B, or if I'm up on top of a ridge, or I'm down on a secondary ridge, or down on the nose, I can pull out, or if I'm still hunting for the day, I can hit that smoke in the bottle and I can see where the prevailing winds is going. If I get into a terrain feature that's really attractive to me, and maybe it's someplace that I think that I either want to climb a tree or sit on the ground, depending upon how I'm hunting and what I'm hunting with, when I'm getting in those environments, I've been checking my prevailing wind all the way there, so I know if I'm hunting with, against, cross quartering, whatever that wind pattern is. Then I get to a spot where I think I want to hunt here. Now I pull out the milkweed and I start checking my thermals, especially if I'm on the break of a terrain feature. I want to know exactly what my thermals are doing. And it's funny, I had this conversation with the guy this morning. He's traditionally hunted whitetail in agricultural regions, flat egg land.
Yep.
He's never hunted hill country or mountainous regions, and he's going on his first mountain whitetail hunt in Kentucky. So he called me this morning. We were chatting about that, and I was talking to him about thermals, and he's like, well, I know what thermals do. I'm like, you know the methodology behind it. I said, do you know what thermals do in a watershed or a drainage that's heavily covered? And he's like, I know. I'm like, well, some of those places, the thermals never change. They never get enough sunlight. They never get enough heat or temperature change throughout the day to change the movement of those thermals within that drainage or that watershed. I'm like, that's one of the places elk really, really like to hide out during the day, because those thermals are falling all day long. So they can go bed down in those locations. They don't have to worry about the thermal change. They're getting that wind, that thermal, that scent in their nose from the same direction all day long. It's a security thing. Like, you'll find that in any mountainous region that you're in. I'm like, so I'm checking my smoke in the bottle for prevailing winds, and then when I that sexy spot I want to hunt, now I'm checking my thermals. You can do the same thing, like tree saddle hunting in the backcountry. When I find a tree I want to climb, at I would like to be able to hunt it all day long, especially in November. When it's November rut, I hunt dark to dark. And if I can conserve my energy and hunt the same tree all day, I'm going to do it. And bucks they're all over the place when the rut's on, right? But I continuously check my thermals if I'm hunting in those hill or mountain areas, because your thermals are going to change throughout the day. And if where I perceive that buck travel is going to come from, if those thermals have changed and I'm hitting my milkweed and it's going right down into the direction where I think the bucks are going to come from, well, now I'm ineffective. And if I'm calling and rattling, I'm educating and not in my benefit. So it's really, really important, and you can use those. We talked about that this morning too. You can use your prevailing wind to help combat your thermals, right? So once you get elevated up into that tree, if you have a decent prevailing wind and the right topography, that prevailing wind will take that milkweed, your thermal, up and away, even though it might be 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or maybe you're getting into that evening hunt, or it's that morning hunt, and you think, hey, my thermals are dropping down into the bottom. But because of where you're at with those prevailing winds, you can check those thermals, and the prevailing wind is actually taking your scent and moving it in the direction that you need it to go. Those are just little tools that you can use and mix them together. And it's never going to work perfect in every scenario, but it gives us a little bit of edge in that one scenario that leads us to success. So anyhow, following
it's good stuff. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's why we wanted something that was ultra lightweight. And this thing is, small enough in the diameter of it, fits right inside your bino harness. So you can just slide that right inside there. And it's protected because, that's what we want, is something that's, again, ultra lightweight, protected, portable, it's not, something that's just a giant bottle in it. And it's very effective. And we have those on the website too for $9.99. So, I mean, it's ready to go, ready to rock right when you pick it up. So.
And it's not available everywhere. Not everybody can get their hands on natural milkweed, or at least go out and harvest their own. Like I'm on the eastern shore of Virginia, Maryland. I haven't found milkweed out here.
Yeah. Yeah. And in Michigan, I could find quite a bit of it. So that's where we locally source it right here in Michigan, and then go through that process to try to get it right into the canister. So those are just a few of the products. Some of them are on the website, at our website at mountainhunteroutdoors.com. And, we're always trying to innovate and bring different products to market, and give you guys other options. Cause I think at the end of the day, us sportsmen, I mean, look how many bino harnesses there are. There's 25 different styles. Look how many kind of pants there are, tops there are. I mean, sportsmen want options. They want different things. They want things that are ultra light. They want things that are ultra durable. And I think that's where, as a brand new startup company right here in Michigan, that's where I feel like we're filling the gap, and we're filling the void. And we're just starting out, but I think we've got some good things to come. And in the beginning, the other thing that I kind of mentioned is we're trying to do some different things different from other companies. And one of them is providing a military discount for, so, brave men and women like yourself, Aaron, that, that have fought for this country. We do provide a military discount. If people want to reach out to us, we'd be more than happy to kind of give a discount there on all of our products too. So thank you for your service. I didn't mention that at the very beginning, but thank you for your service for sure. Yep. And then on top of that, a lot of the things that we're trying to do, I said from the beginning, is I want to take a certain percentage of the proceeds of everything that we sell and give back to the youth. And so this year up at the Michigan Total Archery Challenge at Crystal Mountain, we sponsored 5 kids. Now that's not a ton, but we were able to pay for their shoot, give them a hat, t-shirt, Mountain Hunter Outdoors t-shirt, and kind of, just encourage them to keep shooting and those different things. And so my goal is to maybe next year we can sponsor 50 kids. And as we keep evolving those different things is, to say one of those things, but to actually do it. And you can see some of those videos on our YouTube. But, at the end of the day, let's face it, some of our sports and, maybe even backcountry hunting, some of it's starting to die in certain areas. When I was a kid growing up, deer camp was everything to me, spending time with the guys up north. And I think we've lost a little bit of that. And so our whole goal here is to not only make good products, but, give back to the youth and get them outdoors.
So that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. What else? Anything else you want to talk about? We've been going at it for about an hour. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
You know what? I think that's a pretty good synopsis of some of the products that we have right here. I think that, we've got some great things to come as we move forward. We've got a lot of ideas. I mean, my brain never stops thinking. I mean, I've been told before that I eat, sleep, and hunt, and that's all. My brain never stops thinking about different things or thinking about products, especially as we roll into September for archery elk season. My brain just doesn't shut off with elk stuff right now. But so yeah, no, I really appreciate your time being able to come in and share some of the, the products that we have and, how it's benefited you so far and your testing and those different things. I know you're going to do some more durability testing in the mountains. And, I look forward definitely to seeing like how it impacts your hunt and the feedback that you have, and if there's things that we can improve upon, we're a small company, this is a startup. I'm open to anybody's feedback that's out there. Every single product I sell, I put a handwritten note asking for people's feedback. Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to provide a good product that, that I can even make better, so if you've got feedback, I'd love to hear it, as we move forward.
I love it. I have a couple of questions for you before we end this session. What is your favorite method of hunting?
Oh, I would hands down say archery hunting. I mean, there's nothing like, yeah, you can see behind me, I got a pile of critters. Some are big, some are small. And, at the end of the day, I'm a meat hunter, and so if I can provide some kind of, meat for the family and those things, that's what I'm after. But it's got to be archery. There's nothing like it. This year we're going back out west for archery elk hunt. We'll spend 12 days out there. And then we'll come back and then we'll go back again for the rifle season and do another 10, 11, 12 days. That's what we did last year. So we'll spend a month in the mountains in the old Peaks teepee and camping underneath the stars. So, but it's got to be archery all the way. There's nothing like, when your legs are shaking and your pulse is going and your hands are shaking and you just, I still get, buck fever, deer fever. I get it, and I think once it's in your bones and in your blood, as it has been for me since I was a little kid, I hope that feeling never goes away.
I love it. So what bow are you currently shooting?
So I'm actually shooting an Elite Impulse, is what I'm shooting. It's a 34-inch axle bow. It's a great bow. It's an older model, but it's super forgiving. I thought about something a little bit shorter for the pack. There's a lot of bows out there a little bit shorter, axle to axle, maybe a 29 or a 30, but I love the forgiveness for, some long range shots. And it's, there's, like I said, it's almost like vinyl harnesses. There's 1,000 bows out there and a lot of different options, but for me, it's a good shooter and, it's done pretty well for me.
I like it. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
So. Well, very good, Aaron. I appreciate your time. I know it's been over an hour and those different things, but I appreciate your purchase, of the boot dryer and those different things. And I just, I look forward to, what's to come for us at Mountain Hunter Outdoors and in this season. So I'll be sure to keep you in the loop on what's coming out and what kind of success we've had out west this year. So look
Well,
forward to
maybe we'll do another recording
yeah.
mid after season, and we can tell some stories.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, last year was a blast. We've been able, we're rookie elk hunters from the Midwest, but we've been able to come home with an elk every year, which has been pretty good. So,
That's pretty fantastic.
yeah. Last year we got a cow the year before, and then we actually got a really nice bull. It's on our website too. A little video. It's a Michigan bull. Actually, a good friend of mine. We actually got the #2 bull of 2022. It scored well over, I think it was about 315, give or take. Ended up in Woods and Water News here locally and those different things. So, I say we're no experts, but we've been able to piece a few things together with a little bit of luck and make it happen.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah. So socials and all those different things. So we're on Facebook at Mountain Hunter Outdoors. You can find our website right at mountainhunteroutdoors.com. Pretty straightforward. Also the same thing with like Instagram. We're on there at Mountain Hunter Outdoors. And so you can find all of our different things. We got a few YouTube shows of the different things. Definitely the kids that we sponsored this year in a couple of our hunts. And so, I'm a firm believer in DIY and kind of do it yourself. So we're like I said, we're not professionals. We're just some Midwestern guys that are trying to figure this out in the elk woods or in the whitetail woods. And so we've done pretty good for ourselves, the past couple of years. And but yeah, at the end of the day, we're just a couple of regular old guys out here just, trying to make things happen with good products and having a good heck of a time along the way.
Love it. All right,
Yeah.
everybody.
All right.
Well, you know where to find Chad and Mountain Hunter Outdoors. You have some insight on current and future products.
Yep.
Again, anybody that's watching this on YouTube, here's one last look at the upcoming ultralight fans. And I'm becoming a fan of these fans. I think it'd be a great product to have packed in. And you know where to find Limitless Outdoors. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube as well. All of the podcasts, you can see the video version on YouTube. And thanks for joining in again.
Yeah.
And we'll see you the next time. Be
All right.
limitless, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Aaron.